I'll tell you a couple things that I'm noticing. A lot of hero ball.
It's true.
They are not assisting each other like they should. And I know they're talented, and I know that they try to use that talent, try to get ISO situations, but there's way too much of it.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of the reason as to why in that Tulsa game they struggled so hard against that 2-3 zone, because they're not used to passing the ball around and finding open looks the way they should.
Right.
They're used to David Jones taking the ball and going and making something happen.
What was it, the 11th straight game that he led Memphis in scoring?
Something like that.
Pretty wild.
Something like that. And then the other thing I think is I look at these first two conference games and I do question their I question how locked into the game plan they are against lesser opponents at this point.
Agreed.
Those 3 games against top 25 opponents, they were locked into the game plan, sharing the ball, doing everything they could to go get a win. But it feels like there's something amiss. Like they're just not taking these teams as serious as they should.
Yeah, and I'm going to save some despair and fear of Memphis fans. This team is going to drop 1 or 2 games to a bad team. It's going to
feels
happen.
inevitable at this moment.
Yeah,
yes.
it's going to happen at some point. We've talked about it. We talked about it a lot last week. They go on a road game against a bad AAC opponent. This team is very capable of dropping a game. You see how close they played against multiple bad teams this year. And I want to get your opinion on this because there's 2 schools of thought you can kind of come from on this. Is the sloppy play and the close games and playing down to inferior opponents is one half of it. The other half of it is Memphis is playing relatively bad in some of these games, specifically like we just talked about the first half against SMU. But guess what? They're winning these games. So how do you balance looking at that? Like clearly winning all these close games against opponents that are lesser than you in most cases is a little bit concerning. But the fact that you can go out there against quality opponents like SMU, who we're sitting here saying is a solid team and could potentially be a tournament team, and you're playing bad, down by 12, only scored 24 points. I think that was right, 24 points in the first half.
36-24.
Yeah, and you come back and you win that game. It's positive in a sense. So how do you look at it?
In that second half, like you see what they're capable of to cut that deficit, to win by 3. Javon Quinterly, by the way, we haven't really discussed that as a whole. The guy is
got ice in his veins.
Yeah. Like, good God, 2 games in a row did that. And then also you were down Caleb Mills, you were down Naquan Tomlin. I'll say this. I think there's something amiss. I think that this team's playing with fire very clearly.
100%.
Very clearly. But I lean more glass half full because in the end of the day, 13-2, number 13 in the AP poll, 4 top 25 wins. They were unbelievable in their out of conference. I tend to, as long as they continue to win these games, just not push that panic button, pull the panic alarm. I'm like, I don't do anything like that when they're continuing to win ball games. And I think it shows that they are a very resilient team. The fact that they are now 8-1 in games decided by 6 points or less. Like, they are resilient. They're getting, whether it's against inferior competition or good competition, they are getting to that point where you can start to call them a relatively battle-tested team.
Yeah. Yeah, but to me, like, Memphis is that team that you just want to grab by the shoulders and shake and say, what are you doing? You can put together these stretches against top 25 quality opponents where you look incredible and you win those games, and then you have moments like they have over the last several games, like the Vanderbilt game and the Tulsa game, where it's just like, why can we not do this from the beginning? Why does it have to be sloppy, and why does it have to be inconsistent? Why can't it be, okay, remember how we played against A&M and Clemson and Virginia, specifically Virginia, with the way they dominated that game? Why can't this be put together for an entire game? Because it really doesn't make sense. They know they're capable of it. They've seen it happen on the road, at home. It hasn't mattered really where it's at, so you can't really make an argument of that. It's the same team now minus Caleb Mills, obviously, but
sad, by the way.
Yeah, very sad. Very sad for him. But what is it? Like, why can't they get it together and put it together in these bad games? Because now Memphis fans don't have a ton to be upset about. A top 15 team in the country, 13 wins, all the out of conference play that they had.
Give them an opportunity, they will.
But the thing is fans in general are going to find something to complain about, right? And the complaint now is, why can't this team blow anybody out? Why can't they have a dominant win? I mean, really, they haven't had many this year. Their biggest win this year was against Virginia, right? Points wise,
23 point,
right? Was against Virginia, and so it's like, if you can do that against a quality top 25 opponent, why is Memphis not beating Tulsa by 15 to 25 points?
There's
doesn't make sense.
Something amiss.
It doesn't make sense.
And the argument you'll hear from people that are on the glass, half empty side, they'll say, well, they're not blowing out these teams, so they're not going to get any favors when it comes to net and metrics and everything else. They need to start blowing teams out. So then I heard somebody make the case that if they blow these teams out, they can afford, like Houston did over all those years, they can afford to lose one game, and no one's going to push the panic alarm, and no one's going to freak out, and their metrics won't fall completely. They'll just say it was an off night. But if you string together a bunch of these games in a row where you're beating inferior competition by 2 or 3 points, and then you lose one, everybody's going to say, well, they've been playing like that for a while.
Right.
Now they finally lost.
Yeah.
I think the beauty of it is that they got a team now with Javon Quinterly leading the way, who has seen it all, and he is very aware of the playing with fire type thing.
These last two games, he's played with fire in his own way.
Well,
man.
no, and
he came through in the end.
Yeah.
But he has had some rough stretches of basketball.
Like he was mistake free in those games.
First half of the SMU game, rough. Yeah. Second half of that Tulsa game, very rough.
Right. Oh no, he talked about it. He was asked straight up last night after the game. He said, I think Terry Davis asked, like, why are you struggling getting going? Like, why aren't you asserting yourself more? And he said, honestly, I'm trying to figure that out myself. Like, he was aware of it. And I love that he's aware that he's like, no, for this team to be successful, I need to be out there more. I need to be doing more. I need to be asserting myself more. And then he was asked by Tim Buckley. He said, basically, you guys are playing with fire. And he said, we absolutely are playing with fire. And if we don't fix this, we will get stuck soon.
See, that's the thing is, like, even when you win, can you fight the complacency of, we still won that game?
Complacency is the word.
Let's calm down. Even when you win by 3 in a game like that, you need to push on the gas harder.
Yeah.
Right? Can they do that? That's been my question. Even after the Tulsa game. Can you get back to the drawing board after a win, fight that complacency, and still make the changes you need to make?
And it's not, just to even zoom in closer on this is not, can they do it? We know they can do it. Can they do it against inferior opponents? Can they do it when the arena is 10% full? Can they do it when they're not on national TV? Like, we know that they can do it in those moments when the lights are bright, when they're playing a quality opponent, when it's a big game atmosphere. We've seen it. There's no denying it. There's not been a game like that really where they just haven't shown up, or they would have gotten blasted by those teams. Outside of maybe no, but that's a different environment. Can they do it on a Tuesday night in Tulsa, Oklahoma, or San Antonio, like that? And that's the question: can this team do it? I really don't have many doubts that when they get to the AAC tournament or the NCAA tournament, what they're going to look like and what they play like. It's the in between.
Yes,
and all of that. The only reason that matters, because I think they'll win plenty of games. This team is almost a tournament lock. It's seed line.
Yes.
Is the only reason that these games
matter.
Stay
in the 3-4-5 line.
Right. Stay there. Don't go anything under 6.
Right now they're 4.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. If
you look at Lenardi's stuff,
right. Which they're in that range right now. So it's like, stay in this range. If you start dropping 3-4 games that you shouldn't drop, then you're going to be back to stuck in that 8-9 game and playing a 1 seed, and they have no reason not to be a top 5 seed. There's zero excuses.
You've already put it out there.
Yes, you've put it out there, and you've beat the tough teams. Now it's trash.
The only thing that keeps you out of that 3-4-5 line at this point is what? 3 losses in conference. Just avoid 3.
Yeah.
Well, honestly, avoid 2 if you can. Avoid any if you can at all costs. I don't think 1 loss is going to absolutely hamper them.
I don't either. I think 3 is probably that number.
But this is something I've struggled with because I've talked about the people that are sort of glass half empty about metrics and not beating teams by a lot, and that doesn't help your metrics. And I agree with that. I completely agree with that. But at the same time, like I sort of question how much winning by a lot in these types of games is going to matter, because even if they lose, like any loss is going to going to dock them seemingly the same. Right. I guess it would just be like the mentality thing I was talking about earlier. If you have been playing bad and skating by and then you lose, it would look worse. But I don't know if the national people, the people that run these metrics, KenPom, Net, I don't think that's how it's looked at necessarily. So I've sort of struggled with that back and forth.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.